Hello and good evening. Welcome to the lineup. We are coming to you live from the Athletic Sports Group studios in Louisville, Kentucky. I'm your host, Rick Goff, and joining me tonight is the Director of Baseball Youth, Tabor Klinglesmith. Did I get that right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
All
sir.
right. Or as you're known in the baseball youth and the All-American Games world, Coach Tabor.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Joining us tonight as our producer, Anthony Grassi, over there running our board tonight. Anthony, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, man, we got a lot to get to tonight, so we're gonna get started here. We're going to talk a little bit about the recap from the weekend. There's some exciting things, some unique things that took place in Major League Baseball this weekend, and then we're going to get to the big topic, the topic that everyone's been talking about for the last 48, 72, 96 hours, and that's the decision that came down from Cooperstown and what that means for the youth baseball world, specifically the 12-year-old kids. And we're going to dig deeper into that tonight, and looking forward to getting your calls and your comments here. We're going to have a phone line for you guys that we're going to open up. I'll give that to you later because I don't want anybody calling in right now. But first, remember that we are currently taking video nominations for our top 10 plays of the month for April. We had an overwhelming success for March, and I'm hoping that continues for April. We've gotten dozens of videos to go through for this. That show will air 3 weeks from tonight. Will be the top 10 plays from April. And if you have a play that you want to submit, please send it to us or email it to us at thelineup@athletics.com. All right, let's start off the show tonight. Tabor, we're going to start off with our recap where we talk about a couple of different teams that had a good weekend from the youth side of it. And our first team up is our 13U Mission Gold, our honorable mention team from our 13-year-old division, Mission Gold. They played this weekend, went 5-0, beating the number 8 Canes Easton team 10-2 in the finals. Congratulations to Mission Gold on a great weekend. And our next team is a team that we've talked about a little bit on the show in the past, and they've come up on the short end of the stick numerous times, but finally they got over that proverbial hump this weekend, and that's our TBS number 20 12U ranked Canes Piro out of North Carolina. And he had a fantastic weekend this past weekend, going 5-0 as well. He beat 2 top-ranked teams on his way to winning his event this weekend. He beat number 8 SBA Futures in the semifinals, and then he took down the number 2 Texas Florida Canes 9-8. Sheesh. 9-8 in an exciting finals. And Tabor, you've coached baseball long enough in these types of formats for a final game to be 9-8. That's what you play for, right?
Exactly. I mean, it being 9-8, I mean, that just shows that neither one of them honestly probably had their big arms ready or available, and so they knew going into that game that it was just going to be a slugfest.
Yeah, and they Canes Piro got out of a bases-loaded jam in the bottom of the 6th.
Good night.
Yeah, that adds a little bit of drama to it as well, right?
Oh, absolutely. I would love to see how many runners were left on base in that game to just see what the coaches were thinking, what opportunities they had to score and to make some things happen.
Well, congratulations to TBS number 20, Canes Piro, for a great weekend. And, you guys fought hard. I've heard from you guys about the rankings in the past, and those 2 big wins will definitely help you once our midseason rankings come out in May. But a side note here is, my hat's off to Texas Florida Canes. Tabor, not familiar with them that much, but
is that the team that reeled off about 100 in a row?
It is part of that organization,
okay.
Loosely part of that organization. That team that you're referring to is now 13.
Okay.
But this is their 12-year-old Texas Florida Canes 12U for this year. Mm-hmm. And, man, those guys have been traveling everywhere already. And Tabor, it's mid-April. And here, those guys have been to, I believe, been to North Carolina.
Alert. Remote. Connection lost.
Uh-oh, sounds like we're having some issues here in the studio. Are we good? We're good. Keep going. All right. All right. So what I was saying was Texas Florida Canes, hats off to those guys because they have traveled already this time. I think they've been to North Carolina twice. They've been to Georgia once. They've been to Texas. They've been to Nevada once already in this short season.
Yeah, but honestly, to put yourself in the position to be ranked or to put yourself in a position to have some success in those bigger tournaments, you got to go out and you got to play those guys. You got to be willing to travel. You got to be willing to put in the hours. I mean, the best teams that I've seen, especially coming from the elite side, is just, man, those guys travel and they're not scared and they'll play whoever.
Yeah, the Canes has definitely proven that they have decided they're going to go travel with the big boys. And but I wonder at 12, are they getting tired? Do they need a break?
I mean that's tough to say just because each kid's his own. It just depends on my thing is you can't teach heart. And if these kids are hearts in it and they want to be involved, then this is the way you got to go. And I know as a parent, whenever I have a kid, if they want to ride, let's ride. Let's do it to the best of our ability.
Yeah, I get that. And evidently that's their motto as well, too, because,
exactly.
Man, those guys, they are searching out everybody and giving everybody their best shot every weekend. So congratulations to Canes Piro this weekend for a great event and a great win. And, still I'm tipping my hat to the Texas Florida Canes for their willingness to go out there and play in events that have Canes Piro and East Cobb Astros and MVPs and ZTs. Yeah, they're going to be at my event I know I'm getting a lot of questions about why Keen's Piro is not coming there, but they've been offered a spot, and we'll see what happens. We've got one spot left in that event, which is absolutely loaded. So
that feels going to be nice.
Yeah, it's going to be nice. So and if it works out, we'd love to have them. All right, let's get on to a big weekend in Major League Baseball. I know our show is dedicated to mostly youth sports, but there were some things that transpired this weekend that I kind of want to bring to everybody's attention. A couple of weeks ago, Anthony and I sat here and we talked about our predictions for the upcoming season, and one of the topics of conversation was, would somebody win 20 games, be a 20-game winner in Major League Baseball? I said no. Anthony said that yes, he thought there would be one guy out there that would win. But I also made the comment at the time that if Jacob deGrom pitched for any other team in baseball, he'd probably win 25 games. And so far, his beginning of the season might be making me look like I'm a pretty smart guy.
I mean, obviously, man. I mean, if you go out there and you throw 14 Ks, I mean, odds are 2/3 of those guys didn't even get a chance to put the bat on the ball. So, I mean, he's doing his job. He's getting ground balls like you hate to see it for him. And I agree. If he plays for anybody else for any type of offense, they get him 2 runs.
Well, let's give you, for those of you that might not know what we're talking about, let me give you the stat line for deGrom in the last 2 outings that he pitched. And this is just a summary of the 2 outings. He's pitched 14 innings. He scattered 8 hits. I love that word, scattered, right?
Oh, yeah.
He scattered 8 hits. Makes him sound effective, right?
Exactly.
He scattered 8 hits, give up 1 run, 1 earned run, 21 Ks, 2 walks, and he's 0-1. And he's 0-1 on the season with a no decision. He had a lead in game 1. His bullpen gave it up. So that is one of the things that is that's one of the things that we talked about in the show earlier. What a stat line. And Tabor, you coach high school baseball. How important is that stat line?
I mean, honestly, we tell our hitters every game, man, like 3 runs has got to be our objective on the offensive side. So if we have a pitcher out there just throwing it and just shedding him up, hitting his spots, and then you have a guy, it's tough. It's tough. I don't even know what those emotions feel like, because at that point you feel like you're playing one-on-one. You feel like you have to strike everybody out, and you have to allow no runs, and that's a lot of pressure on a pitcher.
Now, Anthony, there was something on that graphic again, and you were talking to me earlier about this. What was that about? It's just something that's only happened one time, and how long?
Yeah, so I'll throw this back up on the screen. Courtesy of... where'd it go?
Yeah, the stat line right there. Including the loss, has only ever happened once in Major League Baseball history, where he's struck out 14, gave up 1 run. And that was James Shields. Say that 10 times real fast. James Shields back in 2012. So, I mean, deGrom is just snake bitten, and you just wonder, how long is he going to take that before he demands to be traded out of there?
Honestly, I mean, it won't take long. I mean, for any pitcher that goes into it and you keep having these type of outings and you keep doing those type of things, I mean, when you're put in a position professionally where, you got to make a name for yourself, I mean, it's probably not long before he asks for that trade.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, all right, let's move on to the next thing that happened. And Tabor, I don't know if you saw this weekend, but a gentleman down in Atlanta who's taken a lot of heat, over the course of his career for not hustling and taking some plays off. You're smiling because you know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, old Ronald Acuna Jr.
Ronald Acuna Jr., that's right. And but man, he did something last night that set the baseball world and the Twitter world on fire. A routine ground ball to shortstop, and he beat it out.
Yeah, but that could have been one of those things, too, where he come in the league, he was pretty young, still starstruck.
Oh, sure.
Still seeing those guys doing the little big league trot. And then now he figured out, man, like the game's fast, the game's evolving. Like you have to have hard 90s. You have to do those things to make sure your team, especially in the leadoff spot, you have to give your hard 90 every time to give yourself a chance to score.
Yeah, well, we hope he learned and looked from the things last night that he did. And, folks, if you haven't seen this play, this is something to behold. A routine ground ball to shortstop. And remember, he's a right-handed batter.
Yep.
So he's not 2 steps closer to the bag.
Yeah, but even in that, it's Didi Didi Gregorius throwing over, so it's not like he gets rid of the ball slow.
He's got a cannon.
Yeah, he's known for getting rid of the ball fast. So I mean, that's just another testament to how fast, and if Acuna wants to do it, man, he can hustle.
And you know what a lot of people might not pay attention to is if you look at the way Ronald went to first base, he made it to where he landed, the front of his foot touched the bag.
Oh, textbook.
Excuse me. Yeah, that was textbook. You see so many players, even at the major league level, just landing in the middle of the bag.
Yep.
And it costs them a split second. But I'm going to tell you what, at that level, split second's a lot, right?
Oh, absolutely. Game of inches. We got to take every inch we can away from people, or we got to gain that inch. And honestly, in a textbook run like that, when you can take, half a second off your time to get there, man, like, hats off to him.
I know I was texting some coaches last night that back and forth about that play, and we all brought up the fact that when his foot landed on the bag, that it was basically just his front toe landed on the bag. So I'm sure the normal fan probably don't pick up on something like that, but us coaches,
Yep.
we pick up on that right away and notice how great that was. So kudos to him. I know he takes a lot of slack, the last year or so about what he's done, but man, I tell you what, that was impressive last night. For me, being old school 10 times, that was impressive what he did.
Honestly, reminded me a little bit of Johnny Hustle.
Johnny Hustle.
Just getting down the line, baby.
Well, that brings me to another point from this game that also set the baseball world on fire, and that was the instant replay call at the end of the game, or in the ninth inning, I guess I should say, from the fly ball that scored Alec Baum from third base on the throw from the outfield. Now, I'll be honest, when I watched it live, I thought he was safe. I did. But I'm also in the confines of my house. I'm comfortable on my chair, and I have a great view, right, from my house.
Exactly.
But I thought he was safe. And, you really don't worry about these types of plays anymore because it's going to do what?
You're always going to go to review.
You're going to go to review, right? So they went to review, and after I watched him review, to me, clearly, he never touched a base. Never touched home plate.
Wasn't even close.
Foot skipped right over it.
No, I watched several angles today just out of spite, man, being a catcher and seeing that. There's just no doubt that they got him on the knee, but well before he ever thought about touching the plate.
Yeah, and in the angle that I saw, you can see that his front foot, skipped over the plate. And so as I'm watching it, I'm thinking to myself, well, this is pretty easy. I don't know what's taking so long. He never got the plate. This is going to come back as an out. Lo and behold, imagine my surprise that they called him, the play stood.
Yeah, but could it be one of those things where, you've umpired for several years, and, I've had my fair share of umpiring, but is it one of those things where you just stand by your guy?
Well, then why do we have instant replay?
I totally agree with you.
Why do we have instant replay?
I agree with that. Every angle that I've seen, it really makes me think that they had to have just stood by this guy. They had to have, because I've seen angles from, the away dugout, from the home dugout, from over top, from at the bottom, and you're just sitting here looking at it from every angle. And I don't know that much about baseball, nor will I claim to be the smartest, but whenever you have professionals that do this every week and watch those replays, I just don't know how you don't have him out.
Yeah, and that's the whole purpose and the whole intent of replay is to make sure we get the call right. Everybody for years have complained because many famous calls over the course of time have been botched up. But, that's a human element that's in the game. And so they preach that we're going to get this right because we're going to do it on instant replay. And listen, I'm a fan of instant replay, mainly because I'm a Tiger guy, right? And I just think back to my guy back in Detroit, that Galarraga would have had a perfect game if instant replay would have been in depth there. So I'm in favor of it, and when it works. But this one clearly didn't work, and nobody knows why. Everybody is confused. Why? And I would like to see Major League Baseball put out a statement of saying why they went with the call that they did. And don't give me the standard answer, well, there wasn't enough to overturn the call because, man.
That's BS.
Boy, it's 7:15 here on a Monday, and I still don't think he's touched the plate.
No, absolutely not. And then the bad part is the umpire waited, and he didn't even signal that he was out until he steps on the plate, and then we get a safe call. And you're like, hang on a second. So your reasoning is he didn't get touched, but there's several angles that show you he's tagged out on the knee.
Yeah, I'm still baffled by this one. I know the Atlanta I lived in Atlanta for over 3 years. I've got a lot of friends in Atlanta, and my phone went absolutely crazy last night when this happened because they know I'm an umpire, or I umpired for 27 years. I've retired since then, but once an umpire, always an umpire.
That's right.
And they called me, texted me, and was like, "Can you believe this?" And I'm just shaking my head. I can't. I have nothing for them in that instance.
I mean, honestly, in my opinion, that just comes across as like whenever you go to a local youth league, man, and they get together and they're going to talk to each other, but that ultimately the call is going to stand because.
Yeah, but there's no replay though. I can live with that. I can live with it. If they didn't have replay and they called them safe, listen, it was bang bang. We all know that, right?
Yep.
Replay, you can slow it down frame by frame, and then you finally get the result and you look at it. But in real time, I can tell you, I could have lived with it.
Yep.
But if you're going to preach to me that you're going to do this for the betterment of the game, then get it right.
Oh, I agree. And honestly, at this point too, they were flirting on a 6.5 hour game when this call's made. Was that?
No, I don't think it was going that long. I mean, this was in the 9th inning.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a standard length.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think it was anything abnormal. But regardless, it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. Well, that was the bad from the series in Atlanta this week. Seems like everything is tied to the Atlanta game this weekend. But now let me tell you about something good that happened out of the series. The other night, Freddie Freeman hits a home run in the game. And I'm sure everybody saw this video. And if you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor, go look it up. This is one of those, warm, makes your heart warm stories where Freddie Freeman hits a home run, and there is I'm sorry, I got this backwards. It's a Bryce Harper home run.
Yep.
It's a Bryce Harper home run that an Atlanta Braves fan was catching or attempting to catch, and the kid drops the ball. He finally gets the ball back, and he gives it to a Freddie Freeman fan. Do I got this right, Anthony?
No, he gave it to a Harper fan.
He gave it to a Harper fan.
Yeah, Harper hit the
home run.
Yep.
Right.
A Freddie Freeman fan gave it to a Harper fan.
Freddie Freeman fan gave it to a Harper fan. Okay,
Yep.
So I got this right. And so the internet blew up about the kind gesture that this dad and the son created by giving this ball to the little boy who was clearly a fan. Well, the next day, Freddie Freeman, the fans, the boy and the dad actually attend the game again the next day. And Freeman gets a ball signed by himself and Harper and gives it to this kid, which was just fantastic. Freddie Freeman is a stand-up guy, and I think we talked about that, Anthony. Didn't we? Did I tell you that Freeman, in my opinion, being in Atlanta, was one of the most genuine guys that you'll ever come across. I had the pleasure of meeting him and talking to him for just a few minutes, and you could just tell that he's a stand-up guy, does the right things. But my question is, the ball went to a Harper fan, right? And Harper signed this ball to give to this. So where was Harper in all this?
You've brought it up today, and it kind of puzzled me to think about it. But also in all this, I just want to tip my cap to Freeman, man, for him being such a good human being to go out of his way, go out of your way to go to the other dugout to get this guy to sign it, and for something so small as a signature could mean the world to that kid.
Oh, I'm sure it did. But, I mean, he went that far. I mean, come on. Harper, if you're listening, come on. You should have went over there with Freddie, thank the kid for him giving a ball to your fan,
yep,
and just acknowledge them.
Could it be one of those things, too, though? Freddie's been there. Harper, still a young cat. We lose that sometimes in context, that maybe sometimes he just doesn't realize what his impact could be, or how, taking 2 minutes of your time to be able to impact the fan base.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Freeman did the right thing. I wish I would have seen Harper do the right thing.
Oh, agreed.
All right. Another story from Major League Baseball is Joe Musgrave from the San Diego Padres throws a no-hitter yesterday. Was it yesterday or Saturday? Yesterday.
Yeah.
Threw it yesterday. He threw a no-hitter for the Padres yesterday. So you ask yourself, well, I mean, no-hitters, they're rare, but they still happen a couple of times a year. So what's such the big deal about this one?
Because the Padres have not thrown a no-hitter in 57 years.
Ever.
Yeah.
Never. Not one in the history of the Padres.
Yep.
So that would be a remarkable story in itself, right?
Correct.
First time ever that the Padres, as a team, has recorded a no-hitter. But the story doesn't end there.
No, it's one of those things, man, where I would love to just hear his thoughts as this game's coming to a close, being a hometown San Diego kid, and then you getting to go out there and just completely shove for your fan base where you've watched, where you've been, where you've seen the greats come through. I really want to know what his emotions were in that moment. Like, did that cross his mind?
Well, Musgrave I would say, is considered a journeyman. He's been on a few teams. He ended up in San Diego, finally got his dream job, so to speak, right? He grew up at the park, 10 minutes, I think, or 10 miles or 10 minutes from the park. Grew up rooting for the Padres, and now you are number one, the first guy ever in the Padres history to throw a no-hitter. You do it for your hometown team. I mean, listen, it's brilliant enough that you throw a no-hitter, but to do it, how many kids in their backyard talk about, envision throwing a no-hitter for their hometown team, and here Joe lives it.
Yeah, but it's one of those things. This is why we love sports. This is exactly why you love sports. You get to watch this story unfold, and how many things have to go exactly his way, and how many things need to line up just for this, actual big situation to happen.
I see a movie in the making for this.
Absolutely.
How about Kevin Costner playing Joe Musgrave?
I think Kevin Costner's a little old these days, but I think we could definitely figure something out.
You don't think Kevin Costner would be the right choice?
Yeah, maybe 10 years ago for sure.
Well, yeah, that's true. But congratulations to Joe. Man, what an amazing story that is, hometown team. Now, Tabor, you've got some information, or Grassi, one of you guys, about a girl from, is it North Texas State?
Yeah, so we have University of North Texas, Division I softball. Something that when we saw it the first time, when it got sent to me the first time, I had to read it twice because it didn't make much sense when I read it. I didn't think this was actually possible to do.
But so we have Hope Trotween from the University of North Texas threw a complete game, perfect game, struck out every single batter.
And we're talking D1 college softball. So you guys see the stat line on the screen. That's 7 innings, 0 hits, 0 walks, 21 batters faced, 21 strikeouts.
And something just cool to add to that is that's one of our softball American game coaches.
So, yeah, I learned that today, too. So she is a coach for the All-American softball team, or All-American games. She coaches one of the teams there. How long has she done that for?
I believe this past year was her first year, but I think you can definitely say she'll be back with a resume like 21 up, 21 down.
Oh, man, can you imagine the excitement from the girls that get her as the All-American Games coach?
I really hope they're informed and they know the spectacular feat that she has, because, that's just a testament, man. Like, I would be willing to say that you can count on one hand how many times somebody has struck every batter out.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. Anthony, when's the last time it happened where they struck out all 21 batters?
So the last time a Division I player struck out all 21 batters that were faced earlier this season by Hope Trotwin.
So
she's done it twice in the same season.
Somebody needs to get her an MVP vote.
Now, in fairness, I don't know if that's the right terminology, but in fairness, she gave up 2 runs in the first game, right? She gave up 2 runs, 5 hits, so 2 runs, but she still struck out all 21.
Which is still incredible in its own right.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so
if you strike out every person that gets out,
if you look at your
it's
totals,
incredible.
it's 40. That's 42 strikeouts in 2 games.
You're pretty good at math there.
Something light, but
Basic math is right up your alley, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah, just something simple. Anything more than 2 times 4, it's not in my wheelhouse.
So kudos to her, man. That's an unbelievable feat. She struck out 21 not once but twice. So I'm sure people were asking her, and after the first game, it's like, how are you going to top that? And what's the old saying? Hold my beer. Here, let me show you what I'm going to do.
That's right. And somebody definitely held it, and I hope they gave it back to her at the end of the game.
And we're not insinuating that she's drinking by any manner, shape, or manner, but it's just a terminology that's used nowadays when you want to top something that somebody else has done. And she did it.
Yeah, shout out to her, man. That's craziness.
Yeah, that's an unbelievable stat. So after this was a crazy weekend with some things that went on all across baseball, softball too, and wanted to bring that to you guys' attention and let you know about that. Well, here we go. We're going to talk about the elephant in the room, not only in the room, I guess the elephant in the country, and that's Cooperstown and the release that they put out last week. And I'm going to take a minute here. I'm going to read this to you. I printed it off from the site. And so just bear with me for a couple of minutes, and I'm going to read this to you guys. This is straight from the Cooperstown website. In the best interest of our state, local community, and most importantly our employees, campers and their families whose health and safety who we are obligated to protect, Cooperstown Dreams Park has determined that it is essential to have immunization requirements and a reduced capacity to operate for the 2021 season. Our plan is the only responsible course of action at this time to prevent the possibility of a camp shutdown and displacement of families due to COVID-19. This will ensure the necessary key elements of family participation, camper interaction, and safe visit to the Cooperstown area. All participants, coaches, campers, 12 years and older must be immunized. Immunization requirements: COVID-19, campers under 12 years of age are exempt but must provide a negative test upon arrival. Diphtheria, hemophilus, influenza type B, hepatitis B, measles, mumps, rubella, poliomyelitis, tetanus, and varicella, aka chickenpox. Cooperstown Dreams Park is hopeful that the vaccines will be available a minimum of 21 days prior to any registration date. Cooperstown will, if necessary, modify registration date by registration date until a vaccine is available for 12 years and older. Registered visiting family members 12 years and older are required to provide proof of COVID-19 vaccination to gain entry. Visitors 11 years and younger must provide a proof of a negative test result upon arrival. Unregistered visitors will not be permitted into the Cooperstown Dreams Park. This season, we anticipate hundreds of communities will have the opportunity to experience Cooperstown Dreams Park, the Cooperstown area, and the National Baseball Hall of Fame. This is the first step towards a full reopening in 2022. Our plan will require that all camp participants and visiting registered family members comply with the New York State Department of Health and CDC regulations and guidelines. We appreciate your understanding and support as we navigate these changing times. Our staff is resilient and steadfast in its commitment to the 2021 season. Cooperstown Dreams Park will continue to plan and prepare the facility for the summer season. Now, that's the official news release that they put out. Boy, I tell you what, I am really disappointed in Cooperstown. I've been a proponent of them I've been there 10 times. I've been a proponent of those guys for years. But this decision has me baffled and confused and frankly, not happy with the decision they've made and the resulting decision that they're going to make from all of this. To me, it seems like it's a cop-out. And this is something that is not setting well with the whole community. We've taken a lot of phone calls here at the office over the last 24, 48, 72 hours in regards to this. Teams are pulling out upon droves are pulling out of Cooperstown. I'm disappointed with the whole decision to do this. I'm disappointed with how they are treating the teams, how they're treating the players. And quite frankly, I am appalled at the decision that Cooperstown made, and they should be held accountable for this. The biggest factor for me is, it's almost like they're saying, hey, we're giving you a way to play. We're giving you an option to play. And if you choose not to do it, well, then that's on you.
Yeah, but is it a way? Is it a way to play? Whenever...
It's not. We're going to get to that in just a minute. And to me, this is a way for them to say, we gave you an opportunity to play. You didn't take it. Therefore, you forfeit your money. And to me, that is just downright not a good business practice. And I am beyond lost for words, as everybody was over the weekend, of what was going on. But before we get into a little bit more than that, for those teams that have decided to pull out and you're scrambling to look for something else. Tabor, you got something for them to come to. You've got an option for these teams to still enjoy a week-long experience. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you got there?
Yeah, so we actually have with and this is under our umbrella of Athletic Sports Group, we actually have the Youth World Series, which is for $11.95. You can play 5 to 7 games. The unfortunate thing is Kentucky, Reno, and Ocean City are full in that, but there's 12 spots across all ages for Myrtle Beach, and there's 25 spots in Texas, Texas is July 15th through the 18th, so that's your 4-day experience, and Myrtle Beach is August 5th through the 8th. Again, that's 12 spots in Myrtle Beach, 25 spots in Texas. We also have our week-long events, which are called the Youth Baseball Nationals, and we have 3 weeks in Myrtle Beach, we have 2 weeks in Kentucky, and 2 weeks in Reno, Tahoe, and those will be displayed. I believe Grassi has those up on the screen now. So with that being said, our Youth Baseball Nationals is actually a third of the price of Cooperstown. It's a 5-game guarantee. And the amazing thing about this is we have our event mixer. So that's basically where we rent out an amusement park just for the teams that are playing and their families. And it's typically on a Monday. They get to basically just mingle amongst teams, mingle amongst parents and stuff of that nature. They get passes to parks that's included in their price. And the beautiful thing about the Nationals to me as a coach, and I think you would agree, is that you have a built-in off day. And there's nothing better than that for your pitchers, having a built-in off day on Tuesday, especially at a vacation destination such as Myrtle Beach, Kentucky, or Reno. So definitely some options out there for people that are interested, and we have plenty of spots open in our Youth Baseball Nationals, but I suggest highly that you get those registrations in because they will go quick with everybody backing out of Cooperstown.
Yeah, being here at the office for the last few days, I can attest that the phones have been ringing off the hook. They've been taking reservations for these events. As Tabor mentioned, some of them are already sold out, and so that only leaves you a few options left. Folks, don't wait. Find something to do to replace Cooperstown for this year. Find something to do to replace Cooperstown for next year and for the year after, because I'm telling you, after what happened here, I can't endorse Cooperstown ever again for what they're doing to these teams and these players and these families. That is absolutely atrocious what they're doing. They're keeping these parents and the families' money. They're not returning it. And man, I can tell you, there's going to be some lawsuits over this. It's just a matter of time and people getting organized and getting together.
Well, the worst part about it is Cooperstown is restricted to 12-year-olds. So, I mean, there's 12-year-olds that maybe for the next season or two, due to if they couldn't get a vaccine, they're going to be robbed of that experience. And my motto's always been do right by the kids.
At this point, I don't even care, Tabor. I mean, shame on Cooperstown. Do the right thing and return everybody's money and stop holding them hostage. Do the right thing here, because what you're doing and how you treated I had a problem with how they treated them last year, telling them they needed to carry that $4,000 over to this year. You know what? But okay, I get it. But now what they're doing this year is absolutely atrocious. And I'm telling you, anybody calls me, and I get calls every year about my opinion on my opinion and my thoughts on Cooperstown, and my opinion from now on is going to be absolutely not. Stay away from Cooperstown. If Lou was alive, I can't believe that this would happen. And the people that have taken over for him, I mean, you guys got to do the right thing.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's a travesty.
Absolutely, but I mean, at this point, if they won't return, finances or whatever, I mean, at that point, it's a money grab, and that's what people are going to talk about.
And that's what it looks like. It looks like a money grab.
Exactly.
It looks like a money grab to me and everybody out there. It looks like a money grab. And I know we got a couple of comments from Tiffany Davis. Tiffany, I'm guessing that you're highly upset based on your comments here. You're talking about stopping holding the people's money, and you're agreeing with everything I'm saying. And you're not alone out there. There's been a lot of comments going out about the disappointment and the people that are upset with this whole thing. But let's go back and talk about what they're recommending that you do. You're recommending that they get 12-year-old vaccines. And Anthony, you've done some research on this, and talk to us about how that's not even possible right now.
Right, which obviously throws an added wrench into an already frustrating situation for a lot of people. So what you're looking at right now is across the country in most states, I believe you are eligible to get the vaccine if you are over 16 years old. And obviously there are certain states, particularly in the Pacific Northwest and ironically the Northeast, that are not currently open to 16 and over yet. By everything I've found, it's seemed as if you can get the vaccine in the next week. I believe every state, to my count, will open up by Monday to everybody over 16, which is great on a national level, but that's not really what we're talking about, which is the ability for 12-year-olds to get it. Now, over the weekend, the Pfizer and their company that they partnered with to engineer the vaccine requested emergency use for the vaccine for kids ages 12 to 15. They've been running trials in that age group, and they are the only vaccine that's available under 18 right now at 16 and 17 that had safe, effective, positive results, as you can see on screen. And so as of right now, they have requested that. By everything I've seen, that request could take a couple weeks at least to go through. Whether it gets approved or not is, I guess, a separate story. And then, you know, I guess you're looking at an interesting situation because, I mean, we're sitting here on April 12th. If you're 12 years old, part of this depends on what your birth date is. So if you've got guys that have later summer birthdays on your teams, they won't be able to, which as of right now, all of the experts are saying that for kids 12 and under, or I guess 12 and under 12, depending on, you know, what site you are looking at and who's the one distributing the information. Pfizer here on their website says they're hoping to distribute vaccine to kids 12 and under or under 12 early next year.
It's early 2022.
Correct, early 2022. And then on the screen now, the chief health advisor, Dr. Fauci, saying last month to the House that immunizations for children 12 and under, they are likely to begin in the first quarter of 2022. So with all of that, we are kind of in this waiting period. And like I said, the request was made by Pfizer, who's been the only vaccine provider thus far to vaccinate anybody under the age of 18 for vaccinations between the ages of 12 and 15. But as we will continue to see, we will just have to kind of wait and see what happens.
But see, Cooperstown's got to know this. They have to know that there is no possible way that this is going to transpire before 2022.
I guess the other part of it is, I mean, on a national level, there are still people that are waiting to get the vaccine that are over 12 years old.
Absolutely.
And so, I guess the health advisors on a national level will probably argue the impact is probably greater for somebody who's older to get it. And obviously, we were talking before about the impact that youth sports is having in the spread in the state of Michigan and all that other stuff that we don't have to deal with right now. But yeah,
Right.
we're in this weird area where we don't really, there's been a rule that we have to abide by with no current solution for how to abide by that rule.
But my point is, Cooperstown knows this research and these numbers just like we do. And if they tell you any different, they are not being truthful with you. They're playing this game to where they want you to believe that there is hope that you can play this year. And according to their guidelines, I just don't see it unless an all 11-year-old team goes. Right? An all 11-year-old team could go and they don't have to abide by the 12-year-old vaccination. You can be 11 and it doesn't apply to you.
So then maybe is that their hope? Maybe that's what they're hoping?
But there's no teams out there, Tabor, that are built like that. And listen, if you are built like that, you're going to be in the minority. So you're talking about a tournament that continually holds 104 people. What are you going to have? 10 teams? 10 teams that maybe be able to do this or willing to do it. And I tell you what, out of all the comments that we've seen, our Facebook post was hugely typed on and commented on, I guess is a better way to say it, for this past weekend. And I think there was only one guy that really talked about that he'd be willing to get it for his 12-year-old to experience Cooperstown. The other 99.99% basically said there is no way, and you know where, that they're going to have this done. Cooperstown knows this, and they're still messing around with people. And that is, man, that is just, it's bad business. I think this is going to hurt them. in the long run, for not only this year, but next year, people are not going to go because this is going to really turn a lot of people off. And I don't blame them. I wouldn't go. If I was you guys, I wouldn't go.
Absolutely, because I mean, at that point, you're talking about your reputation. You're talking about the reputation of the biggest and arguably one of the best 12-year-old tournaments in the country now just shutting down and playing with people's finances. So I definitely think in the long run, this will absolutely hurt them.
Yeah, but we've got other options for them, right, Tabor?
Oh, absolutely.
What are those options again?
Youth World Series and the Youth Baseball Nationals. You can visit both at the youthworldseries.com to see all the available dates and youthbaseballnationals.com.
Yeah, so listen, I mean, I get worked up over this a little bit because I feel bad for the people out there that Cooperstown is jacking around, and they need to stop. So at this point, we're going to try something new here. We want to take your phone calls. We're going to put you live on air with your concerns and your comments. As long as you keep them clean, keep them respectable. Remember, this is a family show. If you guys want to call and give me your thoughts, call in right now. We've got an open line, 502-544-3829. Again, that telephone number to call is 502-544-3829. And let us know what you guys are doing. Give us your thoughts on what you think, how you're dealing with this Cooperstown fallout. Because I want to hear from you. You know, I want to see if people out there as upset about it as I am. And I don't have a team. I don't have a kid going. And I'm beyond mad at what these guys are doing to these kids.
Well,
this is ridiculous.
I mean, you had us, up until they call us. I just wanted to ask you something, man. Like, your son played baseball. He was 12. Like,
yeah.
What would you have done as a parent had you received this letter when your son was getting ready for his 12U season, getting ready to go to Cooperstown?
We wouldn't have went. I mean, we wouldn't have went. I mean, I know that we would have changed course, and we would have to baseball youth nationals, and we would have went to Reno or Myrtle Beach or Kentucky. I mean, that's what we'd have done, and and been glad to do it, because what they're asking people to do is beyond reasonable.
I mean, honestly, in some respects, I mean, it's kind of unconstitutional to have somebody do something against their beliefs or whatever they don't feel is necessary.
Well, I don't want to get into the political aspects of it. I mean, constitutional, unconstitutional. I mean, is it right? At some point, we just want to use common sense, and I just don't see the common sense in this. I'm all about being safe and being productive, but the society's changing. They're getting back to trying to get some normalcy back. And Anthony, you got that picture from the Rangers? The Rangers a few weeks ago, or opening day last week, they had no restrictions on their opening day.
Yep.
Home opener in Texas. 40,000 people in there, and that's just what they did. So, it was something that a lot of people are saying, hey, finally we're getting back to normalcy. There were some people that were against it, but there's the picture there. It's you have a choice. You can either do it or you don't do it, and that's kind of what's going on with this thing here in Cooperstown. You have a choice. Either you do it or you don't do it, but it seems like the majority of the people are not doing it. Got a message from Tiffany Davies. I'm sorry. She is at a high school game where she would call into the line, but she wanted to let us know she's not anti-vaccine at all. She's got the COVID-19 vaccine for herself, but not for her 12-year-old, not this year at least. So that's not saying she's objecting to it, but just not at this time. It's not for her. And I think that's probably a lot of people's thing is that it's just not for them right now. But if you guys want to voice your comments, your frustrations, your disbeliefs in what's going on, give us a call, 502-544-3829, and let us hear from you. Let us hear your angers, your frustrations, what your thoughts are on having 12-year-olds vaccinated for this event or not, or ever. If you would do it with your child, I can just tell you I wouldn't do it with mine. Nobody knows how it's going to react with the young body and the young mind, so I'm not too anxious on being the guinea pig if I had a 12-year-old for sure. There's no way I would do it.
I mean, and that's honestly the limbo we're in anyways, is everybody's kind of waiting to just see what's out there, to see what the results are going to be anyways. And I think whenever you're trying to expose a 12-year-old, now you're in a totally different realm of you as a parent, I feel like you can make your own decision. But
Well, let's do basic math here. So let's just say, and I haven't heard from Cooperstown. I tried calling them earlier today, nobody answered. But let's just do some basic math here. Let's say they decide to refund everybody's money, but they're going to keep $4,000 deposit. I mean, that's pretty well widely known across the country. $4,000 times 104 teams in a week. What's that come out to, Anthony?
That comes out to $416,000.
So that's $416,000. And they play, I want to say, we'll be conservative and say they play 14 weeks. So they play all of June, July, all of August. So 12. So times, multiply that by 12 weeks. So 416,000 times 12 weeks.
Times 12 weeks, you're looking at a shade under $5 million.
So that's a shade under $5 million that Cooperstown wants everybody to be okay with. At a minimum, I still think they're going to keep everybody's money if they back out. But let's say they change their mind and they decide to give everybody their money back and keep the $4,000 non-refundable deposit. That's $5 million. And listen, I said this before on the show. I get operating costs. I get how you can you have businesses to run, and there was staff and things that had to be done to get you prepared to this point. I get all of that. So for them to keep some administrative fees, I'm okay with that. That's part of operating a business. I get it. You had to pay employees. They made reservations. They did all kinds of things for you, but not $4,000 worth, not $5 million worth. I don't get it. Cooperstown, do the right thing. Give these people their money back. Got a message here from Michael Jacob. It's disappointing they have had a year to put a plan in place, and they came up with that. I agree, Michael. I mean, it's somebody that size of Cooperstown, this was coming. It's not been a secret. They canceled last year. I get last year, but this year they should have been prepared for this. Or
maybe we're seeing the lack of preparation that they're having on their end.
Oh, hey, Jimmy, we seen that you tried to call in. We got the phone on mute. Sorry about that. Give us a call again. We'll answer the phone here. Sorry about that. We've got it on mute, but try again and we'll get you on the line here real quick. Kevin says, tell me if I'm wrong, but feels like Cooperstown is using the pandemic as a bait and switch. Absolutely, Kevin. That's a great way to put it. It is it's a bait and switch type thing, and I can't see how they can change the rules and not make it apply. How they can stick to this? That's beyond me. Hello, caller. Hi, who do we have on the phone?
This is Jimmy.
Hey, Jimmy. Thanks for calling in tonight.
Hey, no problem.
Hey, so tell us what team you with, Jimmy?
I'm with the Tampa Phenoms, and our group is scheduled for next year, but this is obviously kind of disturbing.
So you guys are scheduled to go next year?
Next year, yes, next year.
So what's your thoughts on everything that's transpiring this year? Is it changing your mind on potentially joining next year or going?
Well, as Tiffany mentioned, it's funny because I actually know Tiffany. But anyways, as Tiffany mentioned, I'm not anti-vaccine, but I think the big thing here for me in that, at least in my experience has been, obviously Cooperstown, I'm not for sure if that's a city-owned park or a county or a township-owned park, or if it's private property. But if it's private property, whether it be Dreams Park or All-Star Village, they can kind of do what they want, right? There's, nobody can kind of come in there and say, hey, I'm going to come on your property. Yes, we're paying fees, but we're not going to abide by your rules, right? But the other thing that really gets me is that in the letter, it referenced player safety, right? And the safety of all those individuals being, one of their primary concerns.
Sure.
But yet, you can pretty much swing what you bring in some of those events there. I believe it's Dreams Park, you can swing what you bring. safety was that big of an issue, you would think they would have cut the bats down versus making everybody get a COVID-19 shot that
Well,
may
that's-
or may not work for people under 16 years old.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point that you bring up. I mean, Cooperstown is known for swing what you bring, and they don't care if the bats are shaved, rolled, loaded with tennis balls. I mean, they don't really care. So for them to cite safety does kind of fly in the face of that. I agree with that. That's a great point that you bring up there. So have you guys met? Let me ask you this, Jimmy. Have you guys met as a team and talked about next year yet?
We haven't. We're actually doing Pigeon Forge this year, the Ripken experience. So we're doing that one this year, and then doing Cooperstown is slated for our 12-year-old season.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see how these teams feel about going next year, knowing that of what's transpiring this year. I mean, this is, it's hard to fathom. We just got a message from Tammy, and thanks for the call, Jimmy. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries.
We got a call, or we got a message from Tammy Waters, and I'm pretty sure she's out of Michigan. And she made a great point here. This is not only affecting the kids, but it's affecting the community in Cooperstown. It's taken away from the businesses that rely on this income year after year after year. And so for those guys to do something like that is tough to deal with. If somebody else wants to call in and share their stories like Jimmy, give us a call, 502-544-3829. And, I want to hear your guys', we just heard from Jimmy, he's going next year, and they're going to talk about whether that's something they still want to do or not. El Oscarin talks about, slow to come up with a better plan, but quick to take people's money. That seems to be the consensus here, Tabor, is it's a money grab, playing on what you said earlier.
Yeah, I mean, if they're not going to come up with some policy to guarantee some type of money back and to make sure that these teams are taken care of, I mean, not only just for what's going on this year, but I mean, you're talking about for your future reputation that you need to basically make things right. Just make it right.
Yeah, and so, there's a lot of upset people out there. We saw it from the comments last week about, the amount of people that just doesn't want to put up with this year. They want to go do something else. And I think this is going to hurt Cooperstown in years to come down the road because, the brothers that are older were there and they didn't have a good experience. I mean, this is going to affect them, and it's going to open up an opportunity for a lot of other people, such as baseball youth, come to Reno and come to Kentucky and Ocean City and everything else.
I've never been to Cooperstown, so I mean, I personally can't speak on it, but I know I've ran the Youth World Series, and I've ran the Youth Baseball Nationals from behind the scenes or as a tournament director, and I'd be willing to say that outside of the Cooperstown nostalgia, like these events, the Youth Baseball Nationals and the Youth World Series, can give Cooperstown a run for its money in terms of what you're getting, what you're doing, and the competition of baseball you're going to play.
Well, we kind of saw the novelty of staying in the dorms was wearing off anyway. We kind of noticed that was kind of ran its course, so to speak, and people are looking for something different. And now this is just giving them the opportunity to find something different. It's not going to end well for Cooperstown in the long run. It may end well in the short-term financial form if they decide to keep all of this money, but I just can't imagine that it's going to end well for these guys. If anybody has a comment, wants to get something off their chest, give us a call, 502-544-3829. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know if your team is planning. If anybody plans on staying in, I haven't heard of anybody that's planning on staying in. So that's a lot of teams that's going to be looking for some place to go and enjoy a summertime experience somewhere. Yep. We've got a couple of spots here for you with the Baseball Youth World. And what are those again, Tabor?
You have the Youth World Series. Again, that's $1,200 for 5 to 7 games. It's restricted to D2, D3 teams, so it keeps that that level competitive. But then the Youth Baseball Nationals is open to everybody, and there's several spots open that you can register and lock down your spot now. And I know, speaking of, if you're looking for something individually too, we also have Baseball Youth All-American Games, which is an individual player event that we have opening and closing ceremonies for those guys. They compete in their grad years, which is makes it pretty unique. Everybody gets a skills measurement evaluation at the end of the tournament, and then the biggest thing is you build relationships and memories, and you're going to see where you stack up against kids in the country.
And a 12-year-old, that's what it's all about anyways, about their memories.
Yep.
About what you did and who you played with and where you traveled to. Jimmy had one more comment on here. I know we had to let him go here earlier, but he talked about it's the last great chance to play in a small field before heading to the big field. And Jimmy, I'm going to say the same thing that I kind of said earlier. It's kind of ran its course. I mean, Cooperstown's 200 feet. That's a little too small.
Especially for 12-year-olds these days with the technology of the bats and how far training's going, man. 200 feet is just small porch.
Yeah, so Cooperstown was running its course, I think, and for a number of reasons. One, the thought of staying in the barracks, no air conditioning, no amenities. That was kind of running its course. Teams have been there, done that. They were kind of getting tired of it. There's too many other options out there nowadays.
Yep.
And then the 200-foot fences. It's not as luxurious and as grandioso as it was in the past. And I can't stress enough. And Jimmy, I personally, I hope you guys decide not to go next year with the Tampa Phenom. Come on over here to the TBS Nationals. I think you're going to enjoy yourselves a lot more than you would going to Cooperstown and spending $20,000-$25,000 anyway. It's not something that from this point forward. Not recommending Cooperstown. You'll never see it come out of my mouth again.
Yeah, but at this point, you're just if you want to play in Cooperstown, in my opinion, it's just like I said, the nostalgia. You just want to play there because you said you've played there. That's what you're paying for in that experience. Is hey, I've played in Cooperstown, I've visited Cooperstown, I've been to the Hall of Fame. And I think in those aspects, okay, cool. But again, as far as tournaments being able to offer you the same stuff as Cooperstown, I definitely think there's tons of options out there that are competing for a third and a fourth of the price.
Yeah, I agree. Well, folks, that's going to do it for tonight's show. Man, I want to thank you for tuning in, and thank you for the comments that you guys contributed on Facebook. Thanks to Jimmy for calling in, giving us his 2 cents on what those guys were going to do and his thoughts on Cooperstown. I'm sure this is not over. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of fallout from all of this, and we're going to be here to talk about it more when this does happen and see what Cooperstown decides. But right now, Cooperstown, if you're listening, do the right thing. Give these people their money back. There's no reason for you to hold all that money hostage, and it's going to cost you in the long run for doing this. It's bad for business, and I'm disgusted that you guys are doing what you guys are considering doing. So do the right thing. I'm Rick Goff. We're coming to you live from the Athletics Sports Group studios here in Kentucky. I want to thank Coach Tabor, for joining us tonight. Thanks to Grassi for producing the show. And we will be back next week at 7 p.m. right here on the lineup. Thanks and have a good night.